Stuttering Craig found himself going viral a few days ago when he let out a X thread that made people go ballistic. He is the host of Side Scrollers podcast. He is a former guest and friend of the show. And I just want to take a look at what made people go so friggin' crazy. What did Craig say to piss off all the nut jobs? So let's go ahead. Let's jump right into it. We're going to read his thread. We're going to react. We're going to respond here. So let's go and let's have a little fun here. So pulled up right here is Stuttering Craig's X at Stuttering Craig Official. Let's see how he offended the world. So he says, I was watching Netflix's new series, Death by Lightning, which I've never seen personally. It's set in Chicago, 1880, and this establishing scene pops up. So let's go and take a look at the scene at hand. So this right here is the scene in question. What the hell? I clicked on it, got smaller. There we go. This is the scene in question. It says Chicago. And if you look at it, boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is what we got. Now, mind you, the hilarity of this is that Craig, I listened to the episode of Side Scrollers. He was sitting down and watching this show with his wife. And he stops on this screen. And this is what goes through his head. And this is what Craig decides to do, which, it's a certain level of the tism that we all have in us at times that I find to be hilarious. So let's see what Craig has to say about said scene. He says, okay, this establishing scene pops up. In the foreground, an Asian woman, two black men, and a one-legged man all walking together downtown. It immediately stuck out to me, so I looked up the actual demographics for Chicago in 1880, which I have no idea who decides I'm going to look up the demographics after this. Because most of the time, I'm actually giving them credit for paying attention. Because a lot of the times when scenes like this pop up, I'm just not even looking. I'm just looking past. I'm waiting for something to happen. So kudos for Craig for looking and actually watching in the beginning. He says, here's what the numbers say. Chicago's population, about 503,000. Black population, 6,500, roughly 1.3%. Chinese population, 172 total people, 0.03% estimated. Chinese women, about 3% of the 172 number. So he did the math, meaning roughly 5 total in the entire city. Disabled one-legged men from the Civil War era, plausible, maybe 0.1 to 0.2% of the population. So we could see right here, Craig dug in and he went in, got all the numbers, probably using AI. I think he said he used Grok, which again, but maybe we have to take with a grain of salt because we know Grok is on the fringe sometimes. That Grok gives some zonky answers, but let's take it and say that it's true. It actually sounds about right for that time. So with that being said, Craig continues. So if you ran the math on the odds of seeing all of that, an Asian woman, two black men, and an amputee in one random 50-person crowd downtown, it comes out to about 0.00016%, or roughly 1 in 640,000. In other words, Netflix made a scene that's about as statistically likely as spotting a UFO on your morning commute. But hey, at least the diversity box got checked. So while I was listening to the show, and honestly, listening to the show has got me wanting to look up the thread and see what happened. The one thing I do have to say is Craig was talking about how, and he'll go on and he'll see that he talks about the tokenism of it. One thing that, I don't know if anyone pointed out with Craig, but in order for any of these shows to be considered for the major award shows, they all have quotas that they have to hit in order to even get your show, your movie considered. So, what I'm thinking and what I was thinking when he was talking about this and ranting on it is that this is exactly what these creators in this Netflix show wanted to do. They put this opening scene out there, and absolutely, this was box checking, right? Because they got every single thing out of the way in one scene, or a big chunk of the qualifiers out of the way in one scene, in order to get considered for an award. Now, I don't have it pulled up here. This is a bad video by me. I should have pulled up what the exact criteria was in order for the awards, but I've looked at it before, and it's all of the leftist woke stuff that you would think it is. You need to have representation here of this group, representation of that group. You need to have this involved. So if you don't want to have your movie, TV show considered for any of these awards or even allowed to be submitted, then go ahead and make what you want, right? But if you want to play that game and you want to get your show, your movie, whatever it is, submitted into these award shows, these are the type of pandering things you have to do. So let's keep going with what Craig had to say because this was a thread, baby. Let's see what else he said. So scrolling down, he goes, boop, update, I looked closer. So, mind you, while his wife is waiting to watch the show, here's Craig on this screen, pause, probably reversed it to take a look because it caught him. He's probably like, whoa, 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 bring it back, honey. Paused it and is now sitting there. He looked closer. So let's keep going. It's actually two black men and the black woman, not just two men. So I reran the math with that correction, the odds of this exact group, Asian woman plus two black men plus one black woman plus one-legged man, randomly walking together in 1880 Chicago, about 1 in 2.4 million. So to put that in perspective, that is one in almost 5 times the population of Chicago at that time. Netflix didn't just bend history, they straight up violated statistics. Craig continues. Holy crap, it gets worse. The Chinese woman in the scene is dressed like an upper class socialite, casually walking beside a black guy in 1880 Chicago. Let's be clear, that would have been impossible. There were maybe 5 Chinese women in the entire city, none mingling publicly, and certainly not strolling downtown arm in arm with anyone outside of Chinatown. And to add a little more historicalness to this, and this is still something culturally we see a lot today, where if an Asian person, and specifically a Chinese person, is living a very traditional Chinese lifestyle, which in a lot of these places, a lot of these Chinatowns, they try to live as close to that lifestyle as possible. There is, like Craig said, no way that they are wandering, especially if there's freaking 5 of them, right? And to be wandering with somebody of another race in 1803, mind you, or 1808, whenever it is, the early 1800s, to be mingling races at that time would be unheard of. Like Craig said, it's not that it's just not plausible. This is impossible. There is not a possibility that maybe behind the scenes, right, they were all breaking taboos, but openly, publicly, in the early 1800s, you would not catch this happening. They have an honor code. They have a big thing going on, especially in the Asian cultures, the Chinese culture. Culturally, this would not have flown. Maybe meeting in secrecy, that could be something, but out in the public, flaunting it. And like Craig said, this woman was dressed to the T's. To the T's. And for the chance that, like Craig said here, if there were 5 women and one of them would be dressed up to the T's like that, casually walking with the black guy like that, it's not happening. It's not happening. Like Craig, I completely agree with Craig here. But there's more. For those asking if Death by Lightning is supposed to be historically accurate, yes, it's literally framed that way. The show opens with this screen that this is a true story about 2 men the world forgot. So when Netflix inserts a statistically possible 2024 style, quote, diverse, end quote, crowd into 1880 Chicago, it's not artistic license. It's rewriting history while calling it true. And I think it was Blabs that pointed out in the show the other day that this is also the studio that made a Black Cleopatra, right? So are we surprised that, and I think they've done some other things historically inaccurate, they're not afraid to go and make historical inaccuracies. They don't care about that. And to be quite honest, they didn't bank on somebody like Craig seeing this scene and stopping it and just going through it so meticulously. They truly thought they could throw this in there and nobody would notice. It would go over fine. The only people that would notice would be the award shows. So when they submit their show, they could say, we hit all of these boxes. And it's at this point, boom, boom, boom. Okay, thank you for allowing us to at least submit our show in for award consideration. So, but wait, there is more. Craig is not done. And here is the screen right here. This is a true story about two men the world forgot. One was the 20th president of the United States, and the other shot him. And I don't know what Craig actually took this photo. Like, why is it sideways? Like, you had time, Craig. Unless at this point his wife was just like yelling at him, like, stop pausing it. Let's keep going. So there's more here. I don't care if a black man and a Chinese woman walk together on screen. That's not the issue. What's ridiculous is how blatantly tokenized it is. This shot isn't part of the story. It's just tossed in to check boxes. The rest of Death by Lightning sticks closely to historical accuracy. Every delegate and politician is white, as they were in 1880. I was wrong, not 1808, 1880. So late 1800s. I give my little mea culpa from earlier. Then suddenly, in the establishing shot, Netflix drops in a quote diverse quote mix that would have been statistically impossible. This is not representation. This is lazy tokenism. And honestly, it does the entire movement a disservice. So that was Craig's thread. And let me mind you, you look right here, just on this post alone. 550,000 views, 188 responses, 162 reposts, 4.9 thousand likes. If we go back up to the original here, this was the original one. This one has 11,000 saves, 19.3 million views, 113,000 likes, 14K reposts, 7.7 thousand comments. So this went massive. But if you thought Craig was done, you were mistaken, because yesterday Craig decided that he wanted to break down analysis of this, and he goes, this tweet is at 19 million views. So here's an extremely overthought percentage breakdown, which is probably true here. 51% bots, 32% people who replied without reading, 7% media interns, 3% people who actually understood the math, 6% people furious about something I didn't say, 1% friends texting me screenshots. Yeah, that feels like an accurate breakdown of X. And then you have a grifting creator like me using the great Stuttering Craig's content to make a video. But here's the thing, when it comes to that, Craig's not wrong, because these types of things go by all the time. And these shows put these things in. And the thing is, this used to happen back in the day too. It's not like this is necessarily a brand new thing. I know Craig said it was 2024 diverse. And here's the thing, we are so much more sensitive to it now because it has been shoved down our throats. And we have had so many different movies, TV shows, music, any sort of media that is basically, ads and shit like that, all that type of stuff, that is basically telling you this is what the world actually looks like. And if you don't think this way, you're a bigot and you're wrong. And they were making the message the whole story. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Instead of making a great story with whatever message you want behind it, they're making a message first and then trying to fit the story to mold around the message. And it just doesn't work, and it hasn't worked. And it's been proven time and time and time and time again with the flops and the terrible ratings and all the cancellations that we have seen. So this was something, and according to what Craig said, the rest of the show kind of went historically accurate. This is more of what, at least from my understanding, how the traditional liberal leftists used to act in Hollywood. They would throw in their slight little piece early, make it quick and done, or they would have like a slight jab that was the message there, or they'd have an overarching message that not necessarily me as a conservative would disagree with, but the story would be so damn good I wouldn't care, right? Someone like me watching like Wall-E, which is a massive Disney Pixar, big time talk about global warming. We're destroying our planet, garbage everywhere. Capitalism, with by and large, is bad. And now we're all fat and lazy. Like, that was such a social commentary. From probably a lot of people that disagree with me on most things. But Wall-E is still one of my all-time favorite Pixar Disney movies. Or Disney Pixar, whatever you want to call it. So the thing is, it used to be story first, message second. And we used to always get these great stories with some leftist stuff thrown in there, but we overlooked it. I think now we're just so friggin' sensitized to all of this stuff that, like Craig, we look out for it now because we don't want to see this crap. in any of our shows anymore. We're done with it. We're done with letting it pass by. And I think that's part of what's gone on. It sprouted, great places like we'd have Blaine Andrews on with Criticless coming in there to be the answer to Rotten Tomatoes because Rotten Tomatoes was become so captured by that crap that Criticless is a great answer. And if you haven't gone to Criticless yet, go over there. Or we have places like Worth It or Woke, which is another really good site where both places were spawned because of this nonsense. And honestly, I listen to side scrollers and I listen to Craig and Blabs and Phoenix and all the great people he has over there every day because I'm not a massive gamer anymore. I don't play as many games as I used to. I really don't play them anymore. I live vicariously through them, but it's because they give me that cultural view of what's going on and really keep in reality what is still happening and the things that we need to do. And I know Craig has said it before on his show. When Side Scroller started, I was one of the original people that were watching it because we had Craig on a few years ago, and he basically revealed he was bringing it back to us. He had come out of his retirement. He was back on the internet. He was gracious enough to come on the show, and he revealed to us he was starting it. And it quite literally started as him, Adam Krigler, and they were just wanting to talk games. That was the point. Talk games, have fun. But then something went awry. He noticed it and he needed to take a stand. And I respect Craig. I respect Blabs, Phoenix, all involved over there, all the guest hosts that go there all the time for sitting there and taking the stand, putting themselves out there. Because it's good that we have watchdogs and we need to continue to check Hollywood. We need to continue to check entertainment to make sure that they know this stuff isn't okay. I don't want bland crap. I want creatives to still be creative. And while there are some really good right leaning creatives, I think of G Prime, I think of the guys in the Epic verse with Josiah, Epic Mike, Rippa over there with what he's doing with the Rippaverse and all the comics, Drunk 3PO, obviously, X Wing with Vindicta coming out. Like there are right wing creatives, but the left wing also has a ton of creatives. And we need to get back to just make a good story. If there's a message that you want to send, either mold it into the good story and make it work like you used to, or continue to do your little like minor subliminal jab, right? As much as I don't like it, at least if it's within a good story, I accept it at least. I will still go back to enjoying it. And that's what I'd like to see. So I appreciate everyone for watching this video. If you watched this far, thank you very much. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday night for our live show. It's over on YouTube, X, Rumble, Kick, and Facebook. That's where it is. Those 5 places you can go catch at 9 p.m. Eastern every single Wednesday. Please go over there. Make sure you subscribe and everything like that. And if you want to see more videos like this, clips, you have to subscribe to the YouTube or the Rumble, preferably both. And that's where you'll be getting these types of videos and clips. So I appreciate everyone out there that watched. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.